I guess the best part of releasing this information is that heightened awareness, right? That we might change our behavior because even a small, as Maxime pointed out, even a small reduction in the speed we're driving in can have less repercussions. So Allison Haynes is a columnist in the Montreal Gazette. She wrote about this issue and these staggering numbers. And ultimately she asked the question, like, what's it going to take to get things to improve? Will it take another, tragedy? Will it take another death for the city to take action? Allison Haynes of the Montreal Gazette joins us now. Allison, in reading your piece, you know what I was struck by? I was thinking, we've had so many tragedies, right? And here we are again. What will it take if the deaths haven't changed things yet?
I ask myself the same question all the time. I've kind of been following the issue of pedestrians and road safety, and especially pedestrian fatalities, ever since I've been a columnist for the Montreal Gazette, and things don't seem to improve. 2022 is the second worst year in the last 5 years. 2019, there were 24 deaths. So that's been a high for the decade. I've gone back and compared these statistics. And the strange thing is that in 2016, the City of Montreal put the Vision Zero strategy in place, which was supposed to reduce and then prevent and then bring down to zero the number of road deaths for all users, with a special focus on protecting the most vulnerable users. Mm-hmm. But things seem to only have gotten worse. The numbers certainly haven't gone down. I think the only year that showed a marked improvement was 2021, when there were 11 pedestrian deaths, but that was also the middle of the pandemic, when people weren't going to school and work as much. They might have been working from home. So that year is kind of an outlier, and I don't think it has any particular lessons to teach. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing. The city has a strategy. It's made commitments. It's lowered speed limits. It's tried to improve road design with wider sidewalks and bump outs and removing parking spaces on corners so there's better visibility. That all takes a lot of time to implement that. And in the meantime, people are still dying. And, I think we can look to our municipal decision makers in terms of urban planning measures and traffic calming measures, and why aren't there more of these? But on the other hand, I also think we have to look, at ourselves and the speeds that we're going, because we do know that speed kills, and, those limits have been lowered. But I think yesterday it was the Association of Quebec Police Chiefs was saying that, in a 30 zone, 70% of drivers speed; in a 40 or 50 zone, 50% of drivers speed, 75% of us speed on the highway. And I think Maxime just mentioned the same thing. There's a normalization, acceptance that, okay, the speed limit's there. It's a suggestion. But, maybe we have to take some personal responsibility, as well as look to our government and our decision makers to make improvements.
Yeah, but here's the conundrum to me, Allison, is the fact, as you just outlined, cities have actually put plans in place to make things safer. So traffic calming is a strategy. Yes, sidewalks are wider. Yes, it slows you down going around a corner. And this still doesn't seem to be working. So then my question is, okay, we have a plan. Clearly the plan is not working. How do we figure out why it's not working? And do we have someone we can look at in terms of best practices somewhere else in the world that deals with this many cars, has this many people, and see if someone else is doing this better?
Well, I do believe Oslo has gotten down to very few, like 0 or 1 death a year. I think it's Oslo. It's forgive me because I haven't looked at this for a while, but it could be Copenhagen. But I think it's Oslo that's done this. And people might not like the reason that this has happened, and that's that they've restricted a lot of traffic. There's a lot more pedestrian zones. There's a lot more expense for vehicles to be in a heavily urbanized area. I think there's a few issues here. Like, we always focus on the city because obviously the city is dense and there's a critical mass of people there, so more pedestrians are dying there. But the SAQ statistics also show people are dying elsewhere. Quebec, it's not just in the cities. It's in suburban areas. It's in rural areas. Like, there's we can look at I think the city is an important component and has a critical role to play. But I mean, this isn't just an urban phenomenon either.
No.
So city design is important, but there's something bigger going on. I mean, the way suburbs, say, are being designed these days, like you have these giant parking lots with these giant stores and these giant intersections that are almost impossible to cross. If you do try to cross rather than take your car and move from one parking lot to the other, you feel like you're taking your life into your hands. It's not at a human scale. A lot of, I have another theory, but it's completely untested. It's just a theory based on my own observations that traffic makes people stressed, makes drivers stressed.
It does.
I'm not making excuses for them, but
no, I think you're
at
right.
a certain point, getting stuck in traffic, they want to get through that next intersection. They want to, run that light.
No question.
So they don't get slowed down, and then it puts cyclists and pedestrians at risk. Another theory that's running around is the higher number of larger vehicles on the road. Quebec used to be, one of the markets in North America where small cars sold the best, but over, a period of a decade or 15 years, the SUV has come roaring in, and now the majority of new car sales and are trucks and SUVs. So they're bigger, they're higher, they hit people at a different level. So I think there's a combination of factors, and we can't just point to one. I'm not sure what.
You're so right.
That there's one solution either.
Yeah, and therein lies the problem. There isn't one simple solution, if you will. Allison, I want to thank you so much for the time. We appreciate it.
No problem.